From treating patients as a physical therapist to selling out theaters across America, Chris Distefano's journey to comedy stardom has been anything but conventional. Today, we're diving into the story of how this Queens native became one of the most authentic voices in comedy, a man who transformed his childhood struggles and colorful family history into comedy gold. In an era of carefully curated personas, Chris Distefano stands apart as refreshingly genuine. What you see is what you get, whether he's on stage, behind a microphone, or interacting with fans. This authenticity has propelled him from open mics to Netflix specials and built him one of comedy's most loyal fan bases. Born in 1984 in Brooklyn's Queens neighborhood, Christopher Paul Distefano grew up in a household that was half Italian, half Irish Catholic, a cultural combination that would later become the foundation of his comedic identity. His father, Tony, was an imposing former bouncer with alleged mob connections, while his mother was a school secretary trying to maintain normality amid chaos. Growing up in the cultural melting pot of 1980s and 90s New York City provided Chris with a unique perspective and a front row seat to characters that screenwriters could only dream of creating. The streets of Queens became his first classroom in observational comedy, even if he didn't know it at the time. Despite a home life that was sometimes tumultuous, Chris excelled academically. After graduating from St. Joseph's College with a bachelor degree in psychology, he continued his education at the New York Institute of Technology, where he earned his doctorate in physical therapy, becoming the first person in his family to achieve such advanced academic credentials. By day, Dr. Chris Distefano treated children with developmental issues as a pediatric physical therapist, a career that, while respectable, never fully satisfied his creative spirit. But it was during these years of helping others that Chris began to realize he had another calling entirely. In 2009, drawn to the energy of New York's legendary comedy scene, Chris began slipping away to open mics after his day job. The city that had shaped his sense of humor now provided the stages where he could refine it. For nearly 3 years, he lived this double life, healing bodies by day and exercising funny bones by night. Those early years weren't easy. Chris would often perform to nearly empty rooms, honing his craft one joke at a time, one audience member at a time. But the Brooklyn in him wouldn't let him quit. The same neighborhood that had taught him resilience was now seeing that quality paid dividends in his artistic pursuit. Chris's persistence finally paid off in 2012, but not in the way he might have expected. While many comedians dream of being discovered by HBO or Comedy Central, Chris's big break came from an unlikely source: MTV, a network better known for reality shows than launching comedy careers. When MTV launched Guy Code, a comedy reality show featuring comedians discussing the unwritten rules of manhood, they were looking for authentic voices that could connect with younger viewers. Chris's natural charisma, quick wit, and distinctly New York perspective made him an immediate standout among the cast. Viewers couldn't get enough of Chris's unfiltered takes and hilarious personal anecdotes. His segments on dating, family dynamics, and friendship resonated with audiences and showcased his ability to turn everyday observations into comedy gold. Before long, Chris wasn't just a cast member, he was becoming the face of the show. His success on Guy Code quickly led to appearances on its sister show, Girl Code, and MTV2's baseball-focused show, Off the Bat. Suddenly, the pediatric physical therapist from Queens was becoming a recognizable face to millions of viewers nationwide. But Chris understood better than most that television fame can be fleeting. He needed to leverage this exposure into something more substantial. While many TV personalities might have been content with their newfound celebrity, Chris doubled down on his first love: stand-up comedy. Using his MTV platform to draw audiences to his shows, he began touring more extensively, refining his voice away from the constraints of television. By 2015, the industry was taking notice. Chris secured his own Comedy Central half-hour special, a significant milestone for any stand-up comedian. He also landed a role in IFC's Benders, a comedy series about an amateur hockey team, proving his acting chops extended beyond playing versions of himself. Appearances on late-night shows followed, including Late Night with Seth Meyers, further establishing Chris as more than just an MTV personality. He was now a comedian to be reckoned with across multiple platforms. Yet despite this television success, Chris began to sense that the future of comedy might lie somewhere else entirely. Alongside fellow comedian Giannis Pappas, Chris co-hosted the wildly popular History Hyenas podcast, where their chemistry and unfiltered conversations built a dedicated fan base known as the Hyenas. When History Hyenas ended in 2021, Chris launched his solo podcast, Chrissy Chaos, and co-created Hey Babe with Impractical Jokers star Sal Vulcano. These shows cemented Chris's status in the comedy podcast world and connected him with the massive Impractical Jokers audience. Chris Distefano's comedy is distinctly New York, loud, brash, and unapologetically honest. Drawing heavily from his experiences growing up in a mixed Italian-Irish household with a colorful cast of family members, Chris has mastered the art of storytelling comedy. His material about his father, a former bouncer and larger-than-life character, has become a cornerstone of his act, with audiences across the country falling in love with the elder Distefano's antics through Chris's expert delivery.
Me there, it was just me and my dad. So, he had to watch, we had to watch my cousin, whatever, and he didn't want to be there. He was like, fucking,
What sets Chris apart in today's comedy landscape is his ability to be edgy without feeling mean-spirited. Even when touching on potentially decisive topics, his self-deprecating approach and genuine likability allow him to navigate controversial territory while keeping audiences on his side. In 2022, Chris reached a career milestone with his Netflix special, Speshi Weshi, introducing his comedy to a global audience. The special showcased his storytelling prowess and cemented his transition from TV personality to bona fide stand-up star. Chris's appeal lies in his authenticity. In an era where many comedians carefully craft their public personas, Chris presents himself as genuinely as possible, the same person on stage and off. His active engagement with fans through social media and his podcasts has built a community that feels personally connected to him. They're not just consuming his content, they're part of the Chrissy Chaos family. Like many comedians who don't shy away from edgy material, Chris has faced criticism for jokes that push the boundaries. His occasional politically incorrect humor has drawn both praise for its boldness and criticism from those who find certain bits offensive. Chris has been vocal about his stance on comedy as an art form that should remain unrestricted, positioning himself firmly against what he sees as the sanitation of stand-up. This stance has made him a polarizing figure in certain circles, but has strengthened his connection with fans who share his views. With his star continuing to rise, Chris has expanded to larger venues across the country, selling out shows that would have been unimaginable during his early days at New York comedy clubs. Beyond stand-up, Chris has expressed interest in creating a sitcom based on his life, potentially following in the footsteps of comedians like Jerry Seinfeld and Ray Romano. His reliability and rich characters he's introduced through his stand-up makes this a natural next step. His growing network within the comedy world, including relationships with Joe Rogan, Andrew Schultz, and Tom Segura, positions him perfectly for collaborative projects that could further expand his audience. From physical therapist to comedy powerhouse, Chris Distefano's journey demonstrates the power of authenticity in connecting with audiences. By staying true to his roots while constantly evolving his craft, Chris has carved out a unique space in the comedy landscape. Whether you're drawn to his family stories, his unfiltered podcast conversations, or his perspectives on modern life, one thing is clear. Chris Distefano isn't just riding the wave of comedy success. He's helping define what comedy looks like in the 2020s and beyond. Thanks for watching our look at the rise of Chris Distefano. If you enjoyed this video, hit subscribe for more profiles on the comedians shaping today's stand-up comedy scene.